We are back, Packers Corner. One final episode, little post-mortem report for the Green Bay Packers after they fall to the Philadelphia Eagles. Schmidt, you said this was maybe the least painful playoff loss for you here. I thought we were going to be on toaster alert, but really after that Bears game, the sentiment and the hopes and the expectations were all pretty low. We're going to break down that game. And maybe it lifted our spirits just a little bit to see the Vikings, suffer a similar fate there. I was pretty happy that we didn't have to worry about them hoisting the Lombardi like we were a couple weeks ago. We'll break that down, look towards the Lions game, and a little bit of the offseason for the Packers as we look towards the draft in Lambeau after the break here.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
It was named after Vince Lombardi. You play in Green Bay. As important as it is to any other team, it means more to us.
When he walked into the meeting, he looked us right in the eye. He said, "Gentlemen, we're going to relentlessly chase perfection."
My first thought was on any play with my arm strength, I may not let anybody know this, but my first thought was home run. On every play. On every play.
He did what? Fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Maybe not quite as painful as that one against the Cardinals was to end the season for the Vikings there, but they ended on a pretty sour note here. I think that helped me get through this grieving process with the Packers and their performance against the Eagles a little bit. Schmidt, is that helping you keep your nose above water here?
Oh, thank God it ended the way it did last night for the Purple. An absolute demolishing. They couldn't keep Sam Darnold upright at all last night. And I was more surprised on how the Rams have been able to rebuild so quickly without their first-round draft picks. That's maybe something that Goody should phone over into L.A. and see how they're able to do it without first-rounders, because they got a recipe. But no, Griffey, going to work today, all the purple that surrounded me, just a grin from ear to ear. It totally softened the blow that was on Sunday. So happy that they're out of the playoffs in a fashion that they're all too familiar with. So pretty happy for a Packers corner for going into the offseason. I think this worked out pretty well for me, my friend. No toasters today.
I'm glad that you're chipper. That said, we do have to dwell in the loss and the pits of despair. You're going to be swimming with the angry sharks or whatever you got going on over there too, because we got to recap all that. Dad, as I'm sitting here looking back behind myself and seeing Michael Jordan and Jordan Love, is it too bold to ask, was that picture that I drew up there a little bit premature?
Well, I think I was the first one to mention that to you, that little coincidence with the names. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling a little bit differently about it now. And I got a little bit of I got my Scotland Yard magnifying glass out. I put my Watson hat on, my Sherlock Holmes hat, and I've got a theory about something that's going on as an undercurrent, but we'll build into that. And we need to just review that this team played to an identity, and it came to fruition again in this game. And here it is, the very first play. Last month of the season, our best players on the team all put the ball on the ground early in the first quarter. We've reviewed this. Watson did it a month ago. Josh Jacobs did it. Now Nixon did it. Somebody else did it here recently. And it just became a theme. It's almost, if you need a way to lose, we'll figure it out. We can recount. I mean, think about this, and we can get into the refereeing, but if that isn't the most egregious non-overturn of a call, and I don't know if it makes a difference. Just doesn't look like our guys are ready to play. They're not mature enough. But think about this, fellas. We got that first fumble. They go in, and right here now, you watch this 7 seconds in the pocket. And finally, after this, Jeff Hafley says, we can't do that anymore. And he begins to blitz. Schmitty, did you see what happened to Sam Bradford when they turned the blitz loose on him in Detroit 2 weeks ago? Did you see what happened yesterday when they turned the blitz on him in LA? They had cornerbacks, they had safeties, they had linebackers, they got guys running off the bench to get into the blitz. And Jeff Hafley takes a whole bloody year to figure out to blitz. We didn't blitz Caleb Williams. We didn't blitz Sam Bradford. We didn't blitz anybody. And finally, we blitz in this game, and guess what? We get off the field a couple times. So that's enough of a diatribe to start. But there are so many factors where we, as poorly and pitifully, and I'm going to put it mostly on one guy, our head coach and our quarterback played for us, because the defense was actually inspirational, boys. I thought the defense, good Lord, this could have been a 41 donut type Vikings type playoff loss if our defense hadn't shored up. So anyway, we'll get into some of the other stuff, but yeah, unbelievable. We could have been in that game if we had a mature team.
I think that was legitimately the worst call, and then staying with the call on that opening kickoff there, Dad and Schmitty, that the full-time refs have made. You have to go back to the replacement refs and the Fail Mary, which also happened against us, to come up with a greater degree of incompetence, in my opinion. And you know it's bad when the Viking fans the next day, Monday, when they were getting all psyched up about their game against the Rams, all they could say on there was how bad of a call it was. And you don't hear Tom Brady or any of the announcing crew during the game on Fox say hardly a word about it. I was just astonished that they weren't throwing their arms up in dismay, because it was just as plainly obvious as you can get on a call, and the Zebras got it wrong, Schmitty. That's tough to come back from. That said, I think it does take the sting out of it, given that they had such minimal fight the rest of the way. But what did you make of that call to start the game?
Again, when I've talked about it in other calls that have affected Packers games thus far, how do they not get that correct? How is it that not just only the refs on the field were able to make the wrong call?
And here's another one,
Griffey. The refs did it right on the play by making it a turnover so that it would get reviewed. Because if they rule it's the Packers' ball, then nothing happens, right? Sirianni has to throw a flag, but the fact that New York couldn't get that correct is just astonishing, and it really just set up the whole game. Honestly, God bless our defense. I mean, they kept us in it when literally every time you saw the offense out on the field, besides Josh Jacobs and that one magnificent run that he had and a couple other plays, you never really thought you had a chance. In Jordan Love, I mean, I just don't know. And it's very fair for anyone that supports the Packers to think that this guy is truly it. Now, there were some mistakes made by the receivers. That one interception that he threw across the field where Zach Bond picked it up. Even Matt LaFleur said today the wide receiver actually ran the wrong route and understood why Jordan threw it in that window, because there wasn't enough depth on that pass. But he made mistakes too, and riddled with injuries throughout the game. You can't lose Elton Jenkins, it appears. You brought in Glover. It was comically bad. His performance in that just a couple series that they gave him. They had to bring in Telford right away. Jordan Morgan, he didn't suit up. It's been gone for a few weeks now, but we just didn't have the help in the interior line that we needed once Elton fell down. And then our receivers, losing Christian Watson last week, it now played a huge factor into this week, because we were down to Bo Melton and Heath on the outside. It's just not a recipe for success. And at no point did you believe that the offense was going to get you out of any hole. And even with the defense keeping it a one-score game for a majority of the time, it comes down to you have 4 turnovers. You go -4 in the turnover battle. You're probably not going to win a football game. You're probably not going to win one, definitely on the road. So really, really disappointed with the offense. And that all starts with Matt LaFleur. Right? As much we know that Jordan Love has the arm talent, and sometimes we question what's between the ears, but that's for Matt to really set up. And I know it didn't go our way during the game, and so you kind of, like I said, this was about the most painless loss in the playoffs that I've had in my lifetime, and I no one's can really tell me otherwise.
Dad, if you recall, second year of Brett Favre starting, 9-7, 19 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. Take us back to what you felt as a Packer fan in about 1994 or 5 there, I forget.
Yeah, you have to set the stage there, though. You got to remember 1972 until 1992 was walking through the barren wasteland of Green Bay Packer football, probably in the history of the organization. You had the one strike year when we were 5-4 with Lynn Dickey and Paul Kaufman and MacArthur Lane and all the Jefferson. We had a kid named Jefferson and James Lofton, and we had a hell of an offensive team. And we win that Monday night game 48-47 over the Washington Redskins. And somehow we get ourselves in the playoffs that year at 5-4, and we beat the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken. We actually won a playoff game, and that was it. That was the only playoff game from 72 until the Magic Man comes along in the late 80s and leads us to a 10-6 years. And on a technicality, there's not as many playoff teams, and we don't make the playoffs at 10-6. So when Brett Favre came, even the prospect of sniffing the playoffs was music to our ears and made us dance in the streets. And we had lollipops and rainbows and pots of gold at the end. And so it was just euphoria seeing a guy play with the joy Favre had. So it's really not comparable. We're victimized here by how well the Packers played last year, and we're really one pass play away from the NFC Championship against playing Detroit, who had beaten earlier last year at Thanksgiving. So we were just giddy. We just thought we're one play away. But I have to take you to this slow offense, and Schmitty, you said it with the coach. I don't understand. We know LaFleur's a good coach, but this is going to be my theory when I spring my Sherlock Holmes on you here. But you come out that first play, and I'm happy to see play action, and Jordan Love drops back, and he has a crosser to Wicks, and he throws it 10 feet over his head, and it should have been intercepted. And you're going, this is what we spent all week practicing, the whole week, this play, and we come out and the guy's open, and if we hit that play, here we go. And then I look at the Viking game, and I see our boy, the quarterback that used to play for the Lions, Mr. Stafford.
Oh, Stafford.
Go under center. Schmitty sticks his hand in the halfback's belly, drops back, dagger route down the field, 25 yards, the kind of stuff we saw last year against Dallas. Boom, and here we go. And they throw the ball 6 or 7 out of the first 8 times. Gash, 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 big play, big play, big play. Using Fleury's high-risk offense, that blitzing defense, rather, on early downs against them. Just masterful, a masterclass in preparing to beat the opponent at their own game, and Stafford executes it to perfection. I'm just scratched. And then I watch Jaden Daniels for Washington drop one in the bucket to Terry McLaurin right over the top, like that ball that we had down the field that got intercepted to Wicks that's short. And I'm thinking, where is Jordan Love? Where is Matt LaFleur? And so, but let me just say, as I wrap this second diatribe up, with all that in mind, we get to right before half, and we have a ball go right off Bo Melton's fingertips that could have made it a touchdown. Then we miss the field goal. Then we come out in the second half, and going into the fourth quarter, it's 10-19. Now, if you take away the goofy first touchdown, and if Bo Melton makes that play, it's an even game right there. Malik Heath can't get his foot in bounds. My mind is blowing itself. just get your foot down, son. I mean, some young player finally make a play. No, of course we don't. And then the mind numbing on the next possession, pushing a guy 5 yards out of bounds by Keyshawn Nixon, a guy who's supposed to be a veteran leader. Look at, and it's a soft call. I hated the call, but you put the ref in a position to make the call. You can't do it. I'm watching the Viking game, and a Ram guy tackles the Viking running back 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage, throws him down, no call. Of course, later Slayton does the same thing, pushes down the running back, the Saquon, and gets in, and we get 2 15-yard penalties that extend their. Boys, we could have been right in that game as lousy as we played, but there's something wrong deep in the core of this team. There is something wrong with the chemistry of this team, and I'm going to get into it the next time you come to me. I got a heck of a theory for you. We need to clean it up this offseason.
Well, to your point, in some of the outward signs of an inward rot of some sort would be Keyshawn Nixon after the game being delusional. Did you hear his comments, Dad? He said,
yes,
we talked about the kickoff thing. I'm done with that. I'm going to be CB1, and CB1 isn't returning kickoffs. It's Jair Alexander saying, I don't have anything good to say. I'm not going to say anything. It's Matt LaFleur having to say, we look forward to Jordan Love becoming more of a vocal leader moving forward. Even if that's true, I don't know if you say that about your quarterback publicly. That I don't know. So yeah, those are some of the outward signs, Schmitty. I'm interested to hear what my dad's theory is on that. But what do you make of? I mean, we saw it with the performance against the Bears game. And the Packers have had a few seasons where we peaked at the right time of the year. Of course, the Super Bowl year in 2010. But even last year, when we came out against the Cowboys as a young, hungry team, and it was just the opposite this year. We went out with a whimper.
I'm just trying to remember in Matt's tenure now, like, has he had players outspoken like this where they, like, I don't recall that we had guys, maybe he had Devondre
other than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Rodgers and Campbell. How is it? And like, there's been other things. The managing of Jair's injury, so maybe that's why Jair feels the way he does now. He's a little sour. I don't understand how we don't have these things in check. It really, when I think of a good locker room, and what we would think it would be is that you have senior leadership that keep the other players in check. It's a one heartbeat, if you will. And there's a right and wrong way to go about talking to the media. You just had Josh Jacobs and X-Man. They were together in a presser in the locker room. They handled it masterfully. Yep. And so I don't know where the disconnect. Maybe it's just that these guys are just a couple bad apples, and we just have to rid ourselves of them. And if that's the case, so be it. Sayonara. We have a lot of prospects that are on the come up that we need to maybe take a better look at. And so having our CB1 and K9 leave the team might not be the worst thing in the world. Ja might be a little harder a pill to swallow, but if you're not going to get on the train with the rest of them, get off and see you later. We don't have time for you in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Well, I think the Packer fan base, we all felt pretty good about Keyshawn Nixon. It was kind of a cool story to see that he was just electric in the return game a year ago, and to see him improve and make strides at cornerback. And I mean, a lot of goodwill down the toilet when you come out and you blow the first play of the game in a playoff game, and then after the game, that's what you have to say. I think that's going to rub a lot of folks the wrong way, and that might be an exit for him from Green Bay. We'll see how that looks like. Dad, what are you pointing at in terms of where all this is coming from?
Well, and not only that with Keyshawn, but the inane, the inexplicable pushing a guy 5 yards out of bounds after the. I mean, these are the ravings of a lunatic. So okay. Let's take a look. Let's just take a little deep breath and go back in time all the way to the spring. and Jair Alexander shows up to camp to get his bonus workout money in a year in the fashion in which he has not done. He talks about Jordan Love being his quarterback. He's apparently a reformed guy, all in. This Super Bowl train is on its way, and we all felt it and wagered a little bit on it too, because the odds were so high. Why not take a shot? This group is looking so good. What is the first sign that something isn't right in the locker room when you think back? Our veteran leadership defensive line guy, Preston Smith, wants out in the middle to early part of a year of a apparent Super Bowl potential team. That tells you, that belies something is not right in that locker room. And then we talked about it. Then Jair gets hurt, and all of a sudden Matt LaFleur starts acting like he's got a psychological problem at
Well,
press
he was
conferences.
talking a lot of trash, and then all of a sudden we're about to play the Vikings. He's going to be lined up against Justin Jefferson, and he's conspicuously absent. That was strange when Jair missed that first game too.
Okay, so all of a sudden things go sideways with Jair, and we mentioned this 5-6 weeks ago on the podcast here, Schmitty. You and I were both like, this injury thing with Jair, and the way LaFleur handled it, it was just awful the way he handled it. He was condescending to the press. I'll tell you on Wednesday what his status is. I mean, he could have just said he has a PCL injury. There's swelling. He's trying to get on the field, but there was something going on. And you saw LaFleur in the sideline. He was all wigged out, and I love the competitive spirit, but he was out of his mind and making bad decisions on replay calls. End of the year comes. It looks like Jair is out. Tom Clements announces he's not coming back. What does that tell you?
That's
Tucker
not
Kraft in the locker room says, I need to step up and take a bigger leadership role. Keyshawn Nixon goes half goofy on us. This team had a rot from within, and it clearly...
Well, the whole Romeo Dobbs situation, too.
Romeo Dobbs, it was one thing after another, and I think this team is just screaming for veteran leadership. I'm hoping that Matt LaFleur, I mean, he has taken on difficult situations before and kept the team together. I think he can do it. But we now see the evidence that there was an intangible lack of cohesiveness within that locker room that played out this year, because there's no other way to explain the precipitous fall in our play that happened at the end of the year, and the way our quarterback went in the tank, and there was just no cohesion there. The sum of the parts wasn't there. Think about this, guys. Josh Jacobs, stud of all studs, comes in, and we got a running game that's top 5 in the league, and our passing game doesn't get better?
It's clearly worse. Yeah.
So, and think about this. How many times do you remember Jordan Love under center, going play action, and turning around and hitting a guy up the middle on a schemed up play? We talked about this, Griff. I think LaFleur was worried he wasn't reading the field, but you scheme up these plays and it's not a read, right? You got one guy you're going play action. You're scheming it up for him, giving him an easy read, getting him going. We didn't do that, and we didn't blitz on defense. So this rotten core cohesiveness problem, and then the lack of our coaching staff to adjust, that was just not going to be our year. And so we got a lot of questions in the offseason. It's going to really be interesting to see. Love to be a bug in the corner of 1265 and know what really happened, but we got some attitude problems to clean up, and I think we can do it. But I think we need to get a few veteran leaders in there to go with our 2 studs that we got, Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney, and turn this thing around.
And maybe those guys can bring a Max Crosby in, Schmitty. Would that get your attention?
It certainly does, Griffin. I mean, here's some bright spots going into the offseason. And Max Crosby would be on the bucket list of things to do this coming in the next few months here. And I hope Josh Jacobs puts on quite the full court press. Even Devontae Adams was on a show today talking about a possible return to the Green Bay Packers organization, and I think they were even talking about T. Higgins in that combo. So any of those guys, any of those three guys, would be meaningful to the team. Being the third youngest team to make the playoffs next season won't get you much, Griffey. I think we can all say that this team is clamoring for that senior leadership that Gar's talking about. Some things that are going well for us this offseason. There's really not too many guys on the priority list that you need to sign that are unrestricted free agents. TJ Slayton and Brandon McManus are probably your two biggest priorities, and that's a kicker and your third best D tackle on the team. So we're good in that sense. The Packers are going to return about 80% of their snaps next season. They're all under contract. In comparison, the Vikings, I believe, are right around just under 60%. So, and they're like one of the lowest. We're one of the best as far as percentage of snaps coming back that are signed under contract. So we have that going for us. The last thing that really is I'm keying in on is Jair Alexander. If he really is a problem, okay. We don't have the depth. We're talking about potentially Eric Stokes and Valentine being our go-to, and that's having Eric Stokes. We're re-signing him to a deal. I just don't see it. You have Jair under contract. The only thing you can think of, if he really does want out, come June 2nd, I believe, we get $17.1 million back in cap space. So if you let him go, it's not the end of the world. You probably have $45 million free and clear to spend on free agents. So get it right, get the right leadership in the building, and get this ship corrected. We know Matt LaFleur is a good coach. He's shown he has the lifespan with the Green Bay Packers. He's shown that he knows how to handle himself more often than not. It certainly doesn't appear to be the case, especially this year when you lose to the teams that we did in the fashion that we did. But as long as you can clean up some of this inner rot, I think what Goody does for us in these coming months will be very telling on how we'll be positioned going into next season.
Do you know that Aaron Rodgers ended up with more touchdowns and more yards than Jordan Love? That one kind of stings a little bit. Now, Love missed a little bit of time there, but that one stings a little bit, seeing how things went there in New York for sure. Dad, we talked a little bit about the Vikings celebrating. And I'm curious what your thoughts are for the future of Sam Darnold. We saw this big triumphant moment against the Packers. We had a little bit of a kindred moment with the Viking fans. We thought, hey, maybe this is the team that might host the Lombardi. They're looking tough to stop. Sam Darnold with a chance to make himself. I don't think $50+ million was out of the question at this point for Sam Darnold. He goes in and turns into a pumpkin just in time to play the Lions, and then they see the same thing in their playoff game. What do you think the future holds for the Vikings and for Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I still think Sam Darnold had a heck of a year. I think he's showed that he has the potential to be a good ball player. That they just turned the blitz loose on him, and KOC had no answers for it. I mean, you look at what the Rams did on the other side, and you've got Flores trying to blitz up the A gap every other play, and Stafford and McVay had the answers. They got out coached, and KOC should have seen it coming, because that's exactly what Detroit did. Detroit did not want to watch Sam Bradford. I mean, you look at the tape, the masterful job he did against the Packers. It just bugs me to no end that our guy, and I like our defense. We made a lot of improvement this year. I think the arrow's up. But why in the world our Boston College coach, what's his name, would not blitz Sam Darnold? I have no idea. It just boggles my mind. And Detroit comes out there and shows you what to do. And guess what? LA was watching. Is it any mystery, KOC, that you got blitz silly? And so I don't put all of this on Sam Darnold. KOC could have kept a tight end in to Chip. He could have got his receivers picking up some of that blitz. He could have got some easier answers. Did Darnold miss some stuff? Sure, he did. But man, oh man, he showed me a lot in stretches that when he gets in rhythm, he can put that ball on guys. So bad last couple of games. It probably cost him. It probably hurt him. It probably gets him out of Minnesota. But I'm still impressed with what Sam Darnold did. And I don't.
Are they going to regret letting him walk out the door?
Well, it's very possible. I mean, Schmitty makes the point. They got a lot of free agents they can't sign. They can't bring all those guys back, and they don't have much cap room. And they're going to have a rookie quarterback right now in Vegas. Schmitty, as we speak, the over and under wins, and I know that we're way off this year. It turns out the Vikings are who we thought they were. They're the 2022 Vikings. Same thing again. They had 8 or 9 one-possession games. They won them all. If we'd have won our one-possession games, we'd had a 1 loss. If we'd have won our one-possession games at the rate the Vikings did, we'd have been 16-1. Only one we would have lost was the first game.
The Lions. The Lions game where we had the pick 6, which should have been a one-possession game in all likelihood. Yeah.
So all I'm saying is those things have a way of returning to the mean when you win. You don't win all your one-possession games. That's just lucky. If you're good, you win half of them, right? So the Vikings kind of turned out to be who we thought they were. And next year, to start the year with a rookie quarterback, their over and under on wins is going to be something like 8, 7.5, 8.5, maybe, Schmitty, at the outside. And so, yeah, it was their year to get over the top. And KOC, good as he was, I think you put as much blame on him at the end of the year as you do on Darnold.
Schmitty, are you going to be thinking about heading over to the Titletown district for the draft we have coming up? Is that going to be on your radar?
So what, that we can have another X for our first round draft pick? Griffey, I sent the list to you earlier. I sent to both you and Gar since 2011, and I'm being gracious here by letting Jordan Love be one of the hits. Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, and Jordan Love are your 3 hits since 2011. Dayton Jones, Sherrod,
the tone setter.
Yeah. Kevin King, we traded up for Kevin King, traded back Kevin King.
Worst trade in the history
Darnell
of this organization.
Griffey, we just cannot get it right. And so I have no desire to go to Green Bay to watch us fail miserably with another first round draft pick. It's use that capital to bring in some veteran leadership. I could give a crap. I mean, like I said, look at the Rams and what they have done. They brought in the quarterback from Detroit in the big trade, and it's escaping me right now.
Goff
for what's
Stafford,
his name?
and they
Stafford,
got a couple first rounders back.
Yeah, and right, so they trade for Stafford, and now if you're a Rams fan, you're in love. It was all worth it. I mean, you look at last night's game. The D linemen from Florida State were fantastic picks. And Gar, we don't have the pass rush. I think you're afraid.
No.
Hafley doesn't have the ability to send a blitz because we don't generate any pass rush. So it wouldn't have mattered. I want to poke a hole in that. So
it's a chicken and an egg question. When you can't get there with 4, you got to get there somehow. We got Edgerrin Cooper. You can bring Nixon off the edge. Did you see how they were creatively scheming up the cornerbacks and safety? You got to try. So, yeah, I hear you. Our pass rush has been a problem. But when you can't get there with 4 and you're just going to let the guy dance in the pocket and Bradford pick you apart, you got to scheme up something. So I'll take exception with that one. But I agree 100%. We got to get a better pass rush out of our 4 front guys.
Griffey, please just if they're going to hear our cries, apparently now we need another interior offensive lineman. Myers might be, I don't know, he broke his leg or it's a hairline. He's also a free agent. We, as much as we're in a good position, like I said, 80% of snaps coming back next year, like we have glaring problems along the front. I don't want any of our draft picks to weigh under 300 pounds next year. Okay. It has to be all linemen. You don't think
we have a receiver problem?
Oh, Griffin, we have the worst receiver problem. We thought we had it in spades. We have nothing in the receiver room. So you got to, but it's tough to address that. You got such a young room that to address that with another. If you bring in Golden, let's say from Texas, I don't know how much that actually addresses the problem. It would need to be like a Malik. Guy. It would be a Malik Neighbors like receiver to be able to elevate that room. And good luck getting that right. So you got to Devontae T. Higgins, for the love of God, please. Otherwise, it is going to be toaster time. It's going to be toaster time with Tyler every week next season. So
we don't want to see that.
No, for the love of so. Please, the veteran leadership comes in very specific ways. A wide receiver, maybe a DN. Certainly, we need someone to play cornerback for us next season. So there's a right and wrong way to navigate this. And Goody, you kind of steered us wrong in the first round, but you've been very, very good beyond that. And so I hope
just
you
trade
can
that
find
first
some of these
round
diamonds
pick
in the rough. Yeah, like I said,
there we go.
2 weeks
Problem
ago,
solved.
We have no business being in the first round. Trade them away, and we will be so much better.
Do you think they would have the gumption to trade away a first-round pick with the draft in Lambeau?
Oh, that would be so delicious. I don't care.
That would be awesome,
the bums
actually.
that are going to Lambeau Field to watch us select players, good riddance. It doesn't even matter. It's what matters is the win and loss column. And frankly, we weren't good enough to host any playoff games, which is a very important thing. And so if you need to trade out of the first round, because we should, because we're not good at them, do it.
You know what? You know what else we can feel pretty good about? We didn't have some sort of a game-ending play by Cooper DeJean. That would have been a pretty painful knife twist too. So we dodged that bullet. I just got one question to wrap up the season, and then it'll be draft time before you know it, and we'll be talking about that. But we'll have a little hiatus here, of course. The rest of the way, though, who are you cheering for, Dad? Who are you pulling for?
Well, you and I have talked about this, and I just have to. Maybe I'll do that on my closing thoughts. But yeah, I'm a Honolulu Blue guy all the way. That poor Detroit outfit, they haven't won anything since
You're biting kneecaps.
50, whatever it is. Yeah, take both kneecaps on the way up, one on the way down. And let's Dan Campbell all the way. Well, who else would you? I don't want to see Pat Mahomes again. I don't need to see LA. I don't need to see Washington. Honolulu Blue, get on board the Honolulu Blue Express. We're going all the way to New Orleans.
Schmitty, who are you pulling for?
That would be absolutely unbearable. If the Lions win the Super Bowl,
I agree.
It will be toaster time. That'd be awful. We're not rooting for our NFC friends in the North. Screw that noise. It would be really cool. I would love to see Stafford win another one. He looked so good last night. It reminded you like that he is a pro's pro and just diced up the Vikings defense, like so much so that you were questioning whether the Vikings defensive coordinator would even get a sniff at a head coaching job next season. Outside of the NFC, I mean, it would be cool to see the Buffalo Bills finally get it done. That's a fan base that I think I can get behind. I want that game next Sunday.
You would
night.
Be a good member of the Bills Mafia there, Schmitty, jumping on tables and.
I'd be chowing hot dogs and buffalo wings and running myself into tables on a kind. It'd be better than a toaster. It'd be better than toaster time. So, give me the Bills, AFC. Give me the Rams and the NFC. Either one of those, and I'm a happy clam.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Rams. I do appreciate them knocking off the Vikings, so I have some appreciation for that, and they will get my sympathies moving forward. But I'd love to see Jaden Daniels get it done. Really make the Bears regret that draft pick a little bit more. That's what I'm rooting for. Gentlemen, I want to give you a chance for closing thoughts for the season. Schmitty, what do you have for us?
Oh, Packers Corner faithful. I know this isn't how we wanted it to be. We took care of business in the AFC. We just couldn't get over the hump with some of these NFC opponents this year. It was a disappointment. I would say just knowing how well we played going out of last season. But I think we're doing this rehashing of the season, and Gar makes some really good points. The Preston Smith deal, like there's some problems. And so our only hope is that these things get addressed, and we're going to see that start to take place here in just a couple months in time. So it's been a fun ride. Thank you again for all the listeners, the new subscribers. This has been our best year as far as new subs. So if you're listening to this now and you're not a subscriber, hit that like and subscribe button for us. It helps us out. We love doing this. This is a passion. We do it every week just to talk Packers football. So I thank you. I'd kiss every one of you on the mouth if I could right now, maybe give you a little 5-second Frencher, but I can't. So maybe we'll come back here during the draft and we can get a little spicy. I love you all.
A little therapy session for us, right? That's how I feel about this get together. We get a little catharsis, get it off our chest. Dad, bring it home for the year for us as Schmitty puts the cork back in his champagne bottle from August, I guess, and I put my Super Bowl hat from the last time we were in New Orleans away, and maybe I take down the poster of Michael Jordan and Jordan Love. But what do you have to wrap things up for us this year?
First of all, I think I need a straight shot of whiskey to wash my mouth out after that French kiss from Schmitty over there. I'm going to start all over again. But boy, we did have high hopes. Weren't we riding high? Schmitty was popping the champagne cork on about August 15th, and we were right on board the train, and it looks a little uncertain now. I tell you what would make me feel a whole heck of a lot better, and I think you're going to see it about mid-March. I think you are going to see Goody go out and be very active to get a veteran wide receiver for Mr. Love, because he needs to help his quarterback with a veteran who can not only elevate the play of himself, but the rest of the room. And I would love to see that player be Davante Adams. I think he might be the right guy for about 2 years to come in and be a leader and show the boys how to do it. He's got those incredible moves off press coverage to get open. And then if you paired that with Max Crosby coming off the edge, let's go. Get a draft in Green Bay. Get Jair and all the other ragged luggage out of the locker room. Clean that thing out. Get the cancer taken care of. And here we go, reload and go again. We got to get Jordan Love right. And, that's a question mark. When we wrapped up last year, you'll recall, both of you gentlemen, that we said, how does that last throw late across the body into the middle of the field at San Francisco work its way out this year? Do we see that getting fixed, or do we see the lingering effects from it? And I think we have our answer now. 7-8 months now, however many months later it is now, 9 months later since we wrapped up at the draft time last year, and it lingered. It clearly lingered, and I think Jordan Love's injuries early in the year had him seeing ghosts in the pocket a little bit and not processing. And the lack of play action, I think, was probably due to the fact that when he had the injury, he wasn't very mobile, so he couldn't get under center and make those quick drops. So they had to go more to the shotgun. I'm trying to make some excuses for LaFleur here. We know LaFleur is slow to adjust and slow to make changes. He did it with the special teams coordinator and the defensive coordinator, and he surely did it with his offense this year. But we do know eventually in the long run he does make the adjustments. So let's hope Goody makes. I think the key moves to be made now this year in the organization are by Brian Gutekunst, and so we'll look forward to that. And boys, today I had my first shots into the golf simulator. It's time to turn the page. Get ready, start looking towards spring, a little golf, a little fishing, a little healthy readjustment of the attitude, and everything will be just fine come about April after the draft, and we'll be looking up, ready to go again.
Yeah, we're a little perkier than we were after the loss to San Francisco last year, if nothing else. So I don't know if I can thank you and Packer Nation here all for a great season, but I can thank you for a season. And hopefully we can have a great one coming up. Thank you, gentlemen, and have a good night.
Love you all.